Did you know that 24 hours after Einstein died, it was discovered that his brain was missing? And once you hear how it was stolen, you're going to be absolutely shocked. I really need you to sit with that for a second. The most famous brain in human history. Gone. And the guy who took it? Not some criminal mastermind. Not some secret government organization. Just a pathologist. Yeah, literally a pathologist. A regular doctor holding a scalpel. And apparently... Wait a second. Okay, I think I'm moving too fast here. Let's start from the beginning. It's April 17th, 1955. Albert Einstein wakes up with severe chest pain and is rushed to Princeton Hospital. Around this time, Einstein was already 76 years old. And there's something else you should know. Einstein had already undergone surgery on the exact same artery 8 years earlier. So, when the doctors came in and said, "We need to operate immediately," Einstein already understood exactly what was happening. The aorta, the largest artery in the human body, had swollen and ruptured in his abdomen. He was suffering from internal bleeding. And while the doctors stood there ready to operate, Einstein simply refused. In fact, he said this: "I will die when I want to. There's no point in artificially prolonging life. I have done my part. Now it is time to go. I will go elegantly."
Smoke weed every day.
I mean, come on. Even the way the man died was iconic. Thomas Harvey entered. He was the pathologist on call that night. His job, routine autopsy, standard procedures. But Harvey looked at this brain, meaning Einstein's brain, and something crossed his mind. What he did was this: just 7 hours after Einstein's death, before the family could even fully realize what was happening, Harvey removed the brain without permission. He injected 10% formalin into it to preserve it. Then he took it home. Now let me ask you something. Do you like cats? No, I'm kidding. If you genuinely believed you were looking at the most important scientific specimen in human history, something that could unlock the secrets of genius, what would you do? Most of us would say, I don't know, maybe ask someone? But Harvey just acted, and this decision was one that would follow him for the rest of his life. When Einstein's son, Hans Albert Einstein, found out, he was absolutely furious. They worked incredibly hard to convince Hans, and they had succeeded. Hans Albert eventually gave his permission after everything that had happened, and very reluctantly. "I have one condition," he said. "The brain will only be used for legitimate scientific research, and the findings would have to be published in reputable scientific journals. It would not be displayed. It would not be commercialized. It would be used for science only." Harvey agreed to this, and he made a promise. He would publish the results within a year. And by the way, did you know Harvey didn't just take the brain, he also removed Einstein's eyes. Then he gave them to Einstein's personal eye doctor, a man named Henry Abrams. Apparently, Einstein's eyes are still sitting in a safe deposit box somewhere in New Jersey. I can't decide whether that's fascinating or deeply unsettling. Maybe it's both. So now, Harvey had the brain, he had permission, and he had made a promise. What happened next? But before that, I want to show you something secret and important. Yeah, Harvey reached out to his mentor, a pathologist named Harry Zimmerman. They spent months studying the brain together. Looking at it, describing it, they tried to find something. However, despite years passing, there was no published information. Harvey and Zimmerman were pathologists. They were trained to identify diseases, tumors, hemorrhages, and injuries. They were not neuroscientists. They literally did not know what they were looking for. This situation is like handing the world's most advanced telescope to someone who has never studied astronomy. They could describe what they see, but they wouldn't know what it means. It wasn't until 1985, 30 years after Einstein's death, that the first real scientific paper came out. A neuroscientist named Marion Diamond at UC Berkeley got samples from Harvey and found something interesting. Einstein's brain had more glial cells relative to neurons in certain regions, especially the left parietal area. Now, what are glial cells? They don't fire electrical signals like neurons do. Think of them as the support crew. They insulate neurons, feed them, clean up waste. It's like the pit crew in a Formula One race. The neuron is the driver everyone cheers for, but without the pit crew, the car doesn't move. The idea was more glial support might mean more metabolic fuel for intense thinking. Then in 1999, a team led by Sandra Whittleson found that Einstein's parietal lobe was about 15% wider than average. So this would mean that he was able to perform tasks such as mathematical thinking, spatial perception, and visual reasoning better than most other people. And a groove called the Sylvian fissure was shorter or missing, which may have allowed neurons in that region to communicate more freely. A lot of neuroscientists pushed back against these studies. After all, we were dealing with only a single sample, one brain. You simply cannot draw universal conclusions about intelligence from a single data point. On top of that, every researcher who examined the brain already knew who it belonged to. That creates a massive bias problem. If you're looking for signs of genius and you already know that the brain you're studying belonged to one of the most famous geniuses in history, chances are you'll find exactly what you're looking for. That's not science. That's confirmation bias under a microscope. And this leads to a question that, in my opinion, is far more interesting than the anatomy itself. Einstein himself said that his greatest tool was imagination, not computational ability, not processing speed, just imagination. When he was only 16 years old, he imagined himself traveling alongside a beam of light. That single thought experiment eventually paved the way for the theory of special relativity years later. You can't put that under a microscope. It is simply a creation born from imagination. I think that's true.